bring in retired California Superior Court Judge Judge Cordell. She's the author of Her Honor, My Life on the Bench. So good to see you again, Judge Cordell. You know, the last time you and I spoke, you said that Judge Merchan should not lift the gag order. He says the circumstances have now changed, though. Why do you think he moved forward with this modified version that clears his ability to, again, attack witnesses, potentially jurors?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on again. Let's all remember that the only reason that Trump wants the gag order lifted is to attack and intimidate individuals covered by the order. And by doing so, he wants to incite his MAGA followers to attack them. That's the reason, right? So witnesses in this trial who were testified in the trial, they're now on their own. I send them my thoughts and prayers because they're going to need it. Jurors are fair game as a group, but individual jurors can't be targeted because their personal information remains confidential. I would have kept the jurors as a group under the protection of the gag order because if there is a leak and things leak, they would be targets for what? Doing their civic duty by participating in the court proceeding. So no, I would not have made a partial gag order or lifted part of it. I would have kept it all in place.
Now, since it's been lifted, though, in that partial manner, if individual jurors were to become victims of a leak or otherwise, is it too late for the judge to reverse course in some way and reinstate ahead of sentencing?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, if I were jurors in that case, I'd be horrified, wondering, is my information going to get out? And that they shouldn't have to worry about something like that. So if there is a leak, the first thing I think the judge should do is get the lawyers back in, get Trump in, and find out where this leak came from, because the personal information was given to each side's lawyers. That's on the prosecution side, Trump side, and there may be selected staff, the court staff, that had the information. So the information came out somewhere. That's the first thing. And then is it too late? It may be. I think if I were the judge, I'd reinstate it completely, but I'd find out who did this. And then, of course, there would be immediate repercussions of some sort of sanctions, a fine, or maybe some jail time.
Thankfully, we are presently unaware of any leak that has, in some ways, rendered these jurors as a group or individually more vulnerable. But as far as people like Michael Cohen or Stormy Daniels, they have often already been the target of ire from the supporters of Trump and Trump himself. In fact, here is the former Trump fixer, as he's known, Michael Cohen, on witnesses like himself now being fair game for Trump to go after. Listen.
Yes, I feel bad for them. I feel bad for myself. But it's what can he say that he has not said already 1,000 times?
By the way, Stormy Daniels, Your Honor, also very deferential to Judge Merchan's decision. And I wonder, why do you think that is? I mean, is it because, neither of those two are known as shrinking wallflowers or violets. Is it because both can hold their own? And should they be under the same protection as, say, the average juror?
Yeah. Well, first understand, they're not worried about what Donald Trump says about them. They're worried about how other people will react to what Donald Trump says about them. So they're not worried about him saying these things. We've already heard him say these things. So they know what's coming. They have lived in that world for a long time, ever since this case, even before it even started. So they're prepared as best they can be. And so I think that's why they're taking it in stride.
Perhaps you're right about that issue. I do want to turn quickly, if we can, to this classified documents case, a very important endeavor. It's a federal case, federal matter. Here's what we've learned, by the way, from the third day of hearings led by Judge Aileen Cannon. She's not buying Trump's arguments that the Mar-a-Lago search was somehow improper. She even questioned the Trump's team's their request to exclude evidence from the case. There are a number of outstanding motions, as you well know. But what does this tell you about how this case is appearing today?
Just very quickly, Laura, you know that the job of a lawyer is to make arguments to persuade a judge. And the job of the judge is to make a decision, make a ruling. And I don't think Judge Cannon got the memo. The delays continue. She heard arguments yesterday, heard them today, different subjects, and she has yet to rule on any of them. She's kind of given an indication, but that's not a ruling. And I think there are at least half a dozen pending issues on which she has yet to rule. So, the norm is you hear motions to dismiss first, because if she grants a motion to dismiss, that's the end of the case. There's no trial. And if she denies the dismissal motions, then the trial moves forward and you have other issues to take up. But she's not operating in this fashion. She's like random all over the place. It's like judicial chaos. So I don't know what's going to come next or when she will do anything at all, because she's all over. And I don't know who's giving her advice or if she's getting any advice at all. But right now, it just doesn't look good. And I don't get a sense about where this case is even headed, albeit with no trial date even set yet.
Well, it's certainly benefiting the defense for the reasons you've articulated. No trial date, nothing on the calendar that has decisions all over it. And we're still waiting for the Supreme Court of the United States to decide the issue of immunity, which I think she is hoping might impact her case as well. We can go on about why that's an odd thing as well. Judge Judge Cordell, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Up next, more on our breaking news, a huge defeat for one of the most progressive Democrats in all of Congress. So what does that mean for the Democratic Party more broadly? We're going to talk about it.